Hello to our beloved channel family. Have you ever asked yourself, what is the greatest distance in this world? It isn't the distance to the horizon, nor is it the separation between life and death. The furthest, most painful distance is when the person you love most is right there, just a wall away, just a street away. Yet you can never touch them again. Tonight, we are stepping into a story filled with tears and outrage. A story about Jack, a man dying a slow death of regret, and Tuten, an unfortunate wife, dragging herself toward death's door in the freezing winter night. Jack thinks his wife left because she despaired over her illness. But he has no idea that behind her disappearance lies a cruel conspiracy, a sophisticated manipulation by the woman he calls mother. Will Jack's heart-wrenching call tonight be enough to overcome fate and save Tuten? Or will she collapse on that cold stone bench, taking the truth with her to the grave? Join me as we hold our breath and follow this story right now. And don't forget to hit subscribe to light a candle of hope for them. Tuten. Jack whispered her name into the void. The sound barely escaped his dry lips before scattering across the cold floor. Another night passed. Another night, Jack sat motionless like a statue carved from pain. This room used to be a nest filled with laughter and Tuten's gentle scent. But now it feels terrifyingly vast. Darkness swallows Jack like a monster, but he doesn't bother turning on the lights. He is afraid of the light. The light would clearly show the emptiness on the double bed, the layer of dust gathering on her vanity table, cruel proof that she is truly gone, calling her name. It has become a habit, a painful ritual Jack can't break. He calls out as if the name Tuten were a fragile lifeline, hoping that somewhere, somehow, she will hear him and return. But answering him is only silence. A cruel, thick silence that presses down on his chest, making every breath feel like 1,000 needles pricking him. Jack stared at the tightly closed wooden door. In his mind, the film reel of the past began to replay. The scenes he once fast-forwarded through, he was now forced to watch in slow motion. He remembered the final days before she left. Tuten had gotten so thin. Her eyes were sunken, her pale skin showing weak blue veins. She spoke less often, sitting dazed by the window. What did Jack do back then? He was busy. He buried himself in projects, business trips, and social parties. He deluded himself, thinking, she's just tired. It's just work stress. She'll sleep it off. He was so heartless. He chose to ignore the silent distress signals beaming from her eyes. Jack buried his face in his hands, his fingernails digging deep into his skin. Guilt felt like an invisible noose tightening a little more around his neck every day. Why was I so blind? Why didn't I ask her where it hurt? Why didn't I hold her more? Hopeless questions kept echoing in his head. Jack is suffering because he thinks he was heartless. But the cruelest part, the thing that turns this story into a tragedy, is what Jack doesn't know. In Jack's innocent mind, Tuten left because she was gravely ill. He believes the terminal illness pushed her into despair, that she left because she didn't want to be a burden, didn't want him to watch her beauty and vitality fade away. Every night, he tortures himself, thinking Tuten chose to sacrifice her happiness to set him free. But no. The truth is 1,000 times darker and more disgusting than that. Tuten didn't want to leave him. She loved him more than her own life. The person who pushed her out that door, who severed their bond of happiness was his cruel ex-mother-in-law or stepmother. Just imagine when Jack wasn't home, that woman revealed her true form as a venomous snake. She didn't see Tuten as a daughter-in-law, but as a thorn in her side, an obstacle stealing her son's attention and assets. Taking advantage of Tuten's weakest moments due to illness, what did she do? She used the most sophisticated psychological manipulation. She whispered words like knives into her ear. Look at yourself, you're dying. How long do you plan to cling to Jack? Are you going to make him serve a sick invalid like you for the rest of his life? He needs a healthy wife to give him children, not a soulless corpse like you. Day by day, those words were like drops of poison seeping into Tuten's heart. But she didn't stop there. She threatened her staged scenarios to make Tuten believe Jack was sick of her. She backed her into a corner. Leaving wasn't a choice. It was the only way to survive, to keep the last shred of dignity in the face of her mother-in-law's cruelty. Tuten was stolen from Jack's arms by a vile betrayal hiding under the name of family. And tragically, Jack still sits there blaming himself while the villain roams free. Now let's leave Jack's warm but suffocating room and step out into the dark night, not far away. Maybe just a few streets, a few turns. Tuten is there, a tiny figure teetering in the vast night. She is walking, or rather dragging herself along. Her bare feet are swollen and bleeding from walking for too long. She has absolutely no idea that completely unaware that just a few hundred yards away, the husband she adores is screaming her name in absolute despair. The night air was bone-chilling. The northeast wind cut like razor blades through her thin, tattered clothes, biting into Tuten's bruised skin. But the cold outside was nothing compared to the chill inside. The vicious illness, the one she tried so hard to hide from Jack, was now raging harder than ever. It gnawed at her body, making the world spin into dancing black spots before her eyes. Her lungs burned with every labored breath, and then there was the hunger, a gnawing, twisting pain in her gut. How long had it been since her last real meal? 2 days, 3 or longer. Her stomach cramped, a painful reminder that her life force was draining away. Tien dragged her feet. Through the haze of her subconscious, she recognized the streets. That's the bakery I used to buy from. That's the intersection where Jack picked me up. She was so close that if she could just push through one more day, she'd see those familiar gates. She'd fall into Jack's arms, but alas, fate is cruel. Her strength finally gave out. Her legs buckled. Tuten collapsed on the roadside right next to a deserted little park. Tuten managed to drag herself onto a freezing stone bench. Would this cold, lifeless slab be her bed tonight, or possibly her grave? She wrapped her arms tight around her emaciated, shivering body, trying to hold on to the last dregs of warmth. Her breath puffed out in faint white clouds, as fragile as her life right now. As her body went numb from the cold, her mind flooded with memories. Uninvited memories that warmed her soul, but stabbed her heart like 1,000 knives. She thought of Jack. She remembered those autumn mornings, waking up to his kiss on her forehead. He would smirk, watching her sleepy face, his voice deep and warm. "Wake up, wifey, the sun is high." Tears welled up in Tuten's eyes, hot tears rolled down her cheeks, quickly turning ice cold in the night wind. She wondered, "What are you doing right now? Do you hate me? Do you think I betrayed you?" The thought hurt more than the hunger or the cold. If only I had the strength to run back and tell you the truth. That I didn't want to go. That I was forced. That I miss you like crazy. Tien leaned her head back against the hard stone. Sleep washed over her, a deadly sleep. She knew if she closed her eyes now, she might never open them again. She told herself, just rest for a moment, just to stop the dizziness. Tomorrow I'll go home to Jack. Her heavy eyelids fluttered shut. Darkness took over. On that cold bench, in a city both strange and familiar, Tien drifted into a slumber hovering between life and death. She had no idea that tonight might be her last, or the beginning of a miracle. Jack is sitting in his room not far away, still calling her name in vain. Tien lies just outside, separated by a few walls, sinking into a coma from cold and starvation. Will a miracle happen? Will some spiritual instinct push Jack out the door tonight? Or by morning, will they just find a frozen body on a park bench taking the injustice of that cruel mother-in-law to the grave? Tien's fate is hanging by a thread. And will the secret of that woman's cruelty ever be brought to light? However, that moment of sacred reunion was brutally short. The instant Tien relaxed, trusting her safety to Jack, was the moment her borrowed strength ran out. Her hand clutching Jack's shirt suddenly slipped off limp. The hope in her eyes vanished, her eyelids slamming shut like heavy iron doors right in front of him. Her body went limp, collapsing into his arms. Tien, what's wrong? Open your eyes, look at me. Jack shook her in panic, but her weightlessness was heartbreaking. Holding her close, Jack was struck by the cruel truth the darkness and loose clothes had hidden. She was too light as a dry leaf about to fall. His hand touched her back, and he didn't feel soft skin, but sharp, protruding vertebrae. She was nothing but skin and bones. Trembling, Jack caressed her face. Under the dim streetlights, he saw faint bruises on her wrists, bloody scratches on her cold bare feet. Her familiar jasmine scent was gone, replaced by the smell of dirt wind and sickness. A bubbling cough erupted from her chest, followed by a stream of bright red blood trickling from her mouth, staining Jack's white shirt. That red stain was like a knife to Jack's eyes, slashing through the fog in his mind. No time for tears, no time for questions. The Grim Reaper wasn't waiting at the door. He was standing right here, breathing down his wife's neck. Jack let out a roar of pain like a wounded beast. He scooped Tien up and sprinted toward his car, parked nearby. "Hang on. Please don't give up now. We're home. You can't sleep." The car tore through the night, shattering the silence of the streets. Jack floored the gas pedal, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. He kept glancing over at his wife, lying motionless in the passenger seat, one hand driving the other, tightly gripping her cold hand, trying to transfer what little warmth he had left to her. "I'm here. We're almost at the hospital. Can you hear me?" Tien. In her delirium, Tien's subconscious was torn between reality and a nightmare. She heard Jack calling, but his voice drifted further away, distorting. Instead, another voice pierced through shrill and cold as steel, the voice of her ex-mother-in-law. "Get out. How long are you going to make Jack suffer?" A sick cripple like you is nothing but a burden. Go die in a ditch somewhere, just don't drag your carcass back to this house. Tien convulsed in her seat, slipping into full-blown delirium. Her gaunt hands flailed in the air, trying to swat away invisible ghosts. No, don't kick me out. I'm going. I'll leave. Her weak, broken whispers hit Jack's ears like thousands of needles. Jack was stunned. Kick you out? Who kicked you out? What are you saying? Tien. Jack had never heard her say these things. He always thought she left on her own. But these delirious words spoken at death's door were the truest words of all. Mom, don't hit me. It hurts. Tuten curled into a ball, tears streaming down her face. Even though her eyes were squeezed shut, Jack's heart stopped. Mom! A cold jolt of electricity ran down his spine. Why would Tuten mention his mother with such absolute terror? His mother, the woman who always acted so gentle, who cried with him when Tuten disappeared, who comforted him every night. Could it be? A horrifying suspicion began to kindle in Jack's mind, but he forced himself to push it aside. Right now, saving Tuten was all that mattered. The hospital loomed ahead, blindingly white lights piercing the dark. Jack scooped Tuten up and sprinted into the ER lobby, his scream echoing through the hallway. Doctor, save my wife. Please, save her. Medical staff immediately swarmed them. Tuten was placed on a gurney and rushed into the emergency room. The glass doors slid shut, cutting Jack off from the world inside, leaving him standing alone in the cold corridor, his clothes still stained with his wife's blood. Time dragged on like torture. Every passing second felt like a drop of blood leaking from Jack's heart. He slumped to the floor, head in his hands. The image of the emaciated Tuten, the bruises, and that delirious plea, "Mom, don't hit me," haunted him relentlessly. 1 hour later, the ER doors opened. The chief of medicine stepped out, removing his mask, his face grave. Jack bolted toward him like lightning. "How is my wife, doctor? Is she okay?" The doctor looked at Jack, his eyes filled with pity and accusation. "Are you her husband?" "Yes, I am." "How could you let your wife get into this state? She is severely emaciated, anemic, and has acute pneumonia. The tumor has metastasized because she hasn't taken medication for a long time. But that's not all." The doctor paused, his voice hardening. "We found multiple old and new injuries layered over each other on her body. There are old rib fractures, bruises from heavy impact. Do you have any idea what your wife has been through? This doesn't look like she got lost. It looks like she was abused." Jack went numb. His legs gave out. Abuse fractured ribs. What had Tuten endured all this time? Who did this? And more terrifyingly, those old injuries. Were they there before she left, right inside his own house? The suspicion about his gentle mother suddenly flared into a fire of rage. While Jack was drowning in chaos, the phone in his pocket vibrated. The screen lit up. Mom Love. Before seeing this name brought him comfort. Now looking at it made his skin crawl. Jack took a deep breath, trying to keep his voice as steady as possible. He slid the answer button. "Hello, Jack, son. Where are you? It's late. Why aren't you home yet?" I'm so worried I can't sleep." The mother's sweet, warm voice rang out, dripping with fake concern. Jack gripped the phone tight, his eyes glued to the ER doors. "Mom, I'm at the hospital." Silence on the other end for a split second. Her voice suddenly shifted, becoming guarded. "The hospital. Are you hurt, or is it? I found Tuten." Jack spoke every word slow and cutting through the air. The silence stretched out terrifyingly long. Jack could even hear his mother's hesitant breathing through the phone. A normal mother would have screamed with joy, but she was silent. Then her voice returned, forced and trembling. Really, son, is she still alive?" Asking, "Is she still alive?" instead of, "Is she okay?" gave everything away. Jack closed his eyes, tears streaming down, but these were now tears of hatred. Yes, she's alive, and she's in the ER. The doctor says she'll wake up soon. She's going to tell me everything, Mom. Everything. On the other end, the mother dropped a porcelain cup, smashing it to pieces on the floor. She knew her dark secret was about to be exposed. Jack hung up. He wasn't going home. He would sit right here, guarding Tien. From this moment on, he wouldn't let anyone, not even his own mother, hurt her ever again. But Jack didn't know that a cornered beast is the most dangerous kind. On the other end, the mother-in-law was trembling, not from remorse, but from fear. Her eyes flashed with a vicious glare. She cannot wake up. If she wakes up, I lose everything. She grabbed a black coat, snatched her car keys, and a small, unlabeled vial. She rushed out into the night. "Ladies and gentlemen, Tuten has been found, but she is far from safe. A new battle is beginning. Not a battle against illness anymore, but a battle against human cruelty." Jack has started to suspect. But is he ruthless enough to confront his own mother? And that wicked woman is speeding toward the hospital with a mysterious vial in her hand. What is she planning? An assassination right in the hospital bed? Or another pitiful act to deceive Jack? The door to Tuten's recovery room is slightly ajar. The Grim Reaper hasn't left. He has merely changed his form. What will happen to Tuten in the next 24 hours? The answer will be revealed in the next episode. The recovery room secret and the mother-in-law's poison vial. Help Jack protect Tuten by commenting, "Stay strong, Tuten," to give her the strength to wake up and expose the villain. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to be the first to witness the moment the truth comes out. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye, and see you next time.